In the Philippines, we're suffering as much as everybody else. In a lesser degree, maybe because of less infections, less deaths, more recoveries. But still, the economy is also at a standstill. We hope at the beginning of this month, coming month, June, we would be able to resume operations on a graduated basis. But everything changes. It's just that we cannot do it 100% of our workforces. We cannot do it using all of our machines and all of our tables because we have to have social distancing. We have to have testing. So for those who test positive, who have symptoms, they cannot work, even if they would be allowed to. We'll have to have so many disinfecting mechanisms and so many protective things that we have to do because first and foremost during this time is to stay healthy and to stay safe away from COVID-19. The second most important thing is that we have to be able to maintain the employment of the 132,000 direct hires of the gaming industry. And third, we have to maximize revenue collection because our government, as all governments, need the money not only to fight COVID, to buy the vaccine when it's available next year, to do massive testing, which is costing a lot of money, preparing the hospitals, the PPEs, the poor health workers, giving them rest, giving them care, but also for the jump starting of the economy after the COVID crisis is over. And that requires a lot more money, a lot more effort, a lot more thinking, a lot more hard decision making than we ever experienced during the COVID situation. For now, one big resort casino is retrenching over 1,000 people because they could not afford, even in the event that we are allowed to operate, the new normal, which is keeping distance, wearing masks, and all of the extra costs for health and safety are just not viable anymore. I mean, the business is no longer viable anymore if they maintain their 7,600 employees. We hope to stem the bleeding. We hope not to lose any more jobs. It is very important for people like us who are both operators and regulators to be abreast with the latest development in technology and in gaming, not only the actual games, but the systems for monitoring, for auditing, and for regulating. They are just as important. The management of information, for example, the putting in of an effective player tracking system, the audits so that we know that we're collecting the proper revenues, and also the procedures that we have to follow since we are now covered by the anti-money laundering law. All of this we have to study amidst being safe and healthy, amidst wanting to retain the 132,000 jobs, amidst wanting to be able to get revenues as much as we can. PAGCOR was created to legalize gaming in the Philippines. And right now, it is the third biggest revenue collecting body in the Philippines. Are we therefore a revenue collection body? No. The revenues that we got, the revenues that we get, and we will get, come from effective regulation and effective operation of gaming stations. If we do our jobs right, then we know that we collect the proper revenues, and that actually contributes to economic development. Therefore, it is very important that when you regulate and when you operate, you know what you're doing, you're competent, and that you do not succumb to the many pitfalls of corruption, opportunities to make money. Therefore, you need integrity. Gambling has been here for a very long time, as old as time itself. as old as self-preservation itself when people go to war to be able to protect themselves, their tribes, or to be able to expand their territories. It's as old as weaving of clothing. Therefore, in the hierarchy, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it is at the very lowest, the physiological, and it will never come because it is a need. It is the basis from which all the other needs would be based on. And this was realized by our government in late 1970. That is why PAGCOR was created. For all the revenues that PAGCOR collects, there are 2 sections in our charter that says that all of them should go to social-civic programs and projects and nation development, nation-building projects of the country. Thus, 5% of our GGR goes to BIR, write-off, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, as franchise tax. The next 95%, 50% of which goes directly to the national government every month, every 20th day of the month. And from that, 50% of what we give the National Treasury goes to PhilHealth so that they can implement the Universal Health Care Program. So it directly affects our health system, are able to deliver health care systems and medical care. And then the next 5% after that goes for the Philippine Sports Commission, which means that we also are in sports development, and we did very well in the last ASEAN Games. We got a lot of medals, we were able to develop our athletes, and most of all, PAGCOR contributed a very significant amount to the development of the athletes and to the successful launch, the successful implementation of the ASEAN Games plans. So what are we? We regulate. We see to it that there's a level playing field. We see to it that the players are protected. And we see to it that government revenues are collected, the proper and legal ones. We also take care of peace and order because although PAGCOR is not part of the anti-illegal gambling entities that are provided for in the Republic Act on illegal gambling, we, together with the Philippine National Police, the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Immigration, the National Bureau of Investigation, and all other agencies in law enforcement, we have formed the task force. And we're funding that so that we are able to carry out projects. For us, we contribute to them through the information that we receive, either officially or through the grapevine. So far, we have been successful in being able to arrest illegal operations, particularly among the no-goes, the illegal offshore operating games. One problem that the COVID pandemic has created is that it has created a vacuum where people stay at home with their computers and with very, very enterprising illegal gaming operators spraying on them, enticing them to bet through Facebook, through phones, etc. That is what we want to destroy, to eliminate once we get online again, once we get to operate again. So far, we've contributed significantly to the government coffers. This year, we gave a total dividends. This is aside from the 50% of what we earn that we give to the National Treasury. We turned over 12 billion pesos to the National Treasury as dividends for last year, meaning all of our net income we gave to them, 12 billion. And also, we gave 2.5 billion to the Office of the President to be able to help the Department of Health to purchase the PPEs and all the medical equipments they need to fight COVID. But aside from that, we contributed 12 billion pesos to the President's Socio-Civic Projects Fund, where he gives free medicine to all government and military officials every month, and all other social civic projects. For the first time in the history of PAGCOR, the Office of the President actually reports to us how they spend the money that we give to them. They liquidate, fully audited, and fully accounted for by the relevant regulatory agencies like the Commission on Audit and like the Chief Accountant of Malacanang. So everything is clear, everything is transparent, because that is what our mandate is from the President. Obey the law, be transparent, be competent. No place for bad decision-making and bad actions to be taken. And we are successful, I think, without looking like we're praising ourselves. Our records show that from 45 billion in 2015, before we took over, in 2016, we were able to make over 50 billion. In 2017, we made over 60 billion. In 2018, we made over 104 billion. But that was because we had a sale of property. And in 2019, we made about 80 billion pesos. This is how much PAGCOR contributes to the national economy. We would have been doing very well, but then COVID came. And somehow, we have to take 3 steps back. But we're going to get on with it in June, or at the very latest in July. We shall be there to welcome you with open arms. Thank you very much.